Good morning to all of our audiences. You're watching CNN News 18. My name is Toya Singh. As Shilpa just said, we're going to walk you through over the next hour all of the country's top stories right here on the morning news. Our first story takes us down to Karnataka, where we've seen two separate hearings, both monumental, take place within the span of just 2 hours. One in the Supreme Court and one in a Karnataka court. First, in a late night hearing, you had a Karnataka High Court give a go-ahead to Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations at the Eidgah Maidan in Hubbali. The High Court said that the petitioner is not entitled for an SC interim order as the Hubbali ground matter is not a property dispute. Now, just to bring you a lot more clarity, why are we focusing on this story? There are two separate Eidgah Maidans that remain in our focus. One is in Hubbali, the other is in Chamarajpet in Bengaluru in Karnataka. Now, the Chamarajpet Eidgah Maidan is a historic Maidan that has seen many disputes around its ownership over the last few decades. That case was in the Supreme Court yesterday. The Supreme Court gave a status quo to that case. The Bengaluru Eidgah Maidan dispute case, it's now said, is a title dispute matter. They've said there'll be a status quo, and they've also said Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations will not be taking place over there. So as we've said, they will be taking place in Hubbali, but they will not be taking place in the more historic Eidgah Maidan in Chamarajpet. Now we have a reaction coming into this very story. Very quickly, we're going to move to that.
मैं प्रतिष्ठापन यानी फोटो लगाया है. मैंने भी बेलगाम, विजयपुर, इस ऐसे धारवाड़ डिस्ट्रिक्ट में हमने फोटो दिया है. फोटो सार्वजनिक आज जो है इस आज मंडप में लगाएंगे.
यहाँ पर उसकी परमिशन दी गई है सर आपको सावरकर का पोर्ट्रेट लगाने के लिए? क्या कंडीशंस वो बताते हैं आपको? वो
नहीं, सावरकर का फोटो लगाने के लिए कोई परमिशन नहीं चाहते हैं. सावरकर तो ये एक क्रांतिकारी थे, अप्रतिम देशभक्त थे. अपने आयु में 23 साल जेल में काटा, उन्होंने अंडमान में काटा है. तो इसका फोटो लगाने के लिए नॉट नेसेसरी, परमिशन नॉट नेसेसरी.
सर आप
ऐसा हमने फोटो ये छोटा सा एक स्टिकर है, ये भी लगा रहे हैं, और एक बैनर भी है, वो भी लगाते हैं.
सर आप ही के ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने ये बुलावा दिया था और चाहते थे भी कि ईदगाह मैदान जो बेंगलुरु में है वहाँ पे भी आप गणेश चतुर्थी उत्सव को चाहते थे, मगर आपने देखा किस तरीके से उसको भी अभी रोक दिया गया है. तो उस पर आपका क्या कहना है?
वो गलत बात है. मैं कहता हूँ बेंगलुरु का चामराजपेटे मैदान में सौहार्द से होना चाहते थे, लेकिन बेंगलुरु चामराजपेटे मैदान और हुब्बಳ್ಳಿ चन्नम्मा मैदान अलग अलग इशू है. ये तो मालिकत्व किसका ओनरशिप ये डिक्लेयर हो गया है. 10 साल पहले ही सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बताया कि ये कॉरपोरेशन का जगह है. वहाँ थोड़ा कुछ गड़बड़ है. जगह का मालिक कौन है, ओनर कौन है, अभी तक फाइनल नहीं हुआ है. वो भी सरकारी जगह है, लेकिन कोर्ट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में कुछ गलत इंफॉर्मेशन देकर उन्होंने यथास्थिति यानी स्टे लाए हैं. वो भी वहाँ भी हम धार्मिक कार्यक्रम करेंगे, गणेश प्रतिष्ठापन करेंगे, ऐसा मैं बताता हूँ. अभी नहीं, कोर्ट से ही हम लड़कर वहाँ गणेश प्रतिष्ठापन करेंगे.
धन्यवाद सर हमसे बात करने के लिए. So you see that's the Pramod Muthalik, the leader from Sri Ram Sene, who is saying that they have all started their Savarkar campaign also as well on this Ganesh Chaturthi festival, and they will happen to continue. So that's the call that he has given from the Hubbali's Eidgah Maidan, where we are reporting to you live from here. So that's the kind of a call that the Pramod Muthalik has given, and of course there's a grand celebration that is taking place here in the Hubbali.
All right, as you can see, celebrations allowed in Hubbali, but celebrations not allowed. A status quo very much put in place by the Supreme Court in the more famous Eidgah grounds in Chamarajpet. My colleague Ritu is with us this morning now to bring us a lot more context on this story. Ritu, thank you so much for joining us. Ritu, just for our audiences who are joining us at 9 a.m. today, because I want there to be a lot of clarity on exactly what took place yesterday, because it can get confusing. They're two separate Eidgah Maidans. Could you just tell our audiences about exactly what took place in the Supreme Court, what reason the Supreme Court gave for declaring a temporary status quo, and then could you tell us about what reasoning the Karnataka High Court gave when they did give the go-ahead to Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations for just Hubbali?
So, you know what, that we are speaking about the Hubbali's Eidgah Maidan. Of course, this was in a controversy for a very long time. The controversy here is not a new thing that has erupted in this time, but of course, it all draws back to 1992, as we know, and 1994 too. We got to see the different phase in the related to this Maidan, and then 1996 too, and then all that has been continuing here at the Eidgah Maidan. But from a very long time, the Hindu organizations wanted to install Ganesha idol at this particular Maidan. But of course, this is all coming true for them, with the now High Court giving them a clarity, saying that the title of this particular Maidan belongs to the corporation. So the corporation commissioner has all the right to take up a decision to whom he wants to grant a permission related to the idol installation. And right now that we are reporting to you live from the Eidgah Maidan, you can see here the Ganesha idol has been installed. So as been talking since morning, there's one small idol that you can see, and top of that there's a big Ganesha idol too that has been installed. Now there have been a lot of conditions that have been put forth from the commissioner of the corporation to the Hindu organization, and thus they have strictly told them to abide by these the conditions, and then until unless they finish this whole celebration. So there are almost 9 conditions that the corporation has placed in front of them, that there shouldn't be any kind of a banner, advertisement, or other sort of a flexes that should not be placed at the Maidan, and they are supposed to only utilize 30 space here. That's the limit space that the Revenue Department and the corporation has provided to the Hindu organization. So with all that also, of what kind of a decimal level of music that they can play. So there are other rules and regulations too that have been conveyed to the Hindu organization here, and thus they will have to follow this strictly, because you remember they had a grand procession plan that they wanted to bring the Ganesha big idol that we're talking about. They wanted to bring that with a grand procession for a very long kilometer, but of course that was been cancelled because the conditions do not permit them for it, and that was supposed to take place at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So that has been one of the reason why they switched to 7:30 a.m. around, and that's when they had installed the Ganesha idol at this very much place. So there are a lot of conditions that they will have to follow till 2nd September 12 p.m. is the permission that they have granted. And when we're talking about the security, there's a huge police deployment at the Maidan to ensure that no untoward incidents takes place, and it's in a very peaceful manner the Ganesha Chaturthi festival here at the Eidgah Maidan gets over.
Okay, Ritu, if you could now tell our audiences, if you could